All right, welcome everybody to another episode of your favorite movie podcast, the one and only Forced Perspective. Yes, this is episode 114. And yes, folks, the only reason I know that is because I literally have the YouTube page for episode 113 open on my computer sitting in front of me so I don't fuck this up like I've done the last couple of episodes. So anyway, welcome everybody to episode 114 of Forced Perspective. Of course, I'm your host, Sports Guy 515, and joined as always along with my valuable, esteemed co-host, Adolfo. What's going on, man?
Um, not too much. I'm glad I'm esteemed and valuable.
Of course. Why wouldn't you be?
I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, folks. So we're back here. This is kind of part two of our initial conversation that we started in episode 113, where Adolfo and I are just kind of shooting the shit, catching up on everything from over the summer and the last couple of months as well. Last couple of months, I've seen a couple of interesting releases, and particularly this month, we're actually going to focus on two specific ones in the midst of our conversations today. We're going to focus on Venom, and we're going to focus on Halloween. Not the holiday, the movie Halloween. So, and not the original, which if you want to hear about the original, you can hear our Essential Films episode on the original Halloween. But we're talking about the brand new Halloween 2, which is also named Halloween, but it's not the original. It's the sequel, the new Halloween 2, the direct sequel. You still with me, folks? Yeah, I think so. So anyway, but before
Why
we
make
get
it
into all
easy?
that, exactly right. Before we get into all that, though, let me just kind of go through the list of movies from over the summer and see if there's anything else that we could have possibly maybe talk about briefly. I'm going through June right now. Did you ever see Upgrade? Did we talk about that?
I did not see Upgrade, but
And I'm mentioning Upgrade specifically right now because when watching Venom, and we'll talk about this
yeah, it's
later,
basically the same
I
movie.
just thought that it's the same fucking movie.
Yeah.
Except Upgrade is a much better made film. But we'll get into Venom in a little bit. But if you haven't seen Upgrade, you definitely need to check that out. That's a freaking awesome film. Our boy Lee Winnell wrote the film, wrote the screenplay, directed it. Logan Marshall Green is really awesome in this. And then I mean, there's a lot of freaking like wacky like B movie like schlock as far as like the action scenes, but it's fucking awesome though. So definitely check that out if you haven't seen it. Did we talk about Ocean's 8 a little bit or no?
We didn't. And here's the thing. So we actually mentioned it on last week's show, and I said I didn't see it, and you were like, "Oh, well," you kind of didn't really give much of an answer. Like you were just like, "Eh." And I've actually seen it since then. I saw it. So last week I went to, since we last recorded, I went to San Diego for a trip with my wife, and on the way back, Ocean's 8 was playing in the airplane. So I
Ha!
was like, all right, I'll give it a shot, and so I did watch it. I did watch it. So, um, yeah. uh,
Meh, right?
Here's the thing about it, right? Like, I actually wanted to like this movie because I'm all about like I think the cast was good, right? Or at least the leads were. Like, I like, I like Kate Blanchett, I
Right.
like Anne Hathaway, I like Sandra Bullock, I like oh, what's her name, Sarah Paulson. I like those actresses. They're good actresses. Um, and I wanted it to succeed based on the, because it's fine. Like, I don't have a problem with like a sequel, reboot, remake. Oh, no, I guess it's a sequel or it's a sidequel because it happens in the same universe as the other Ocean's movies. But it's not really a
Right.
sequel to those movies because they do reference Danny Ocean in that movie. But I wanted it to be successful creatively, and it just fell really flat. Like, the jokes didn't land for me. I don't think they had a ton of chemistry together, to be honest. Um, and I just it was just flat. It was just very vanilla.
Yeah, it didn't seem like you kind of caught on something that I was noticing while watching it was that the cast didn't feel, I don't want to say they didn't feel comfortable. I'm sure they were comfortable with each other. It's just they didn't feel like they were supposed to be like this awesome, espionage team, of thieves. They kind of just it didn't feel natural. Like, when you watch like the other Oceans movies, like that whole team, you feel like they've known each other forever, like they're best friends. Here, you didn't really get that vibe, especially with Anne Hathaway kind of being thrown in there, like midway through the film. Spoiler alert,
Oh yeah,
and she kind of didn't get a lot to work with either.
that was really
You
bad
know?
too. Like she like where she because the whole movie I'm like, all right, I'm counting seven. Where's the eighth one, right? And then when it's revealed, I'm like, all right, okay, sure, whatever. You know what I mean? Like it didn't like I didn't care. Like it was like I don't. This is who cares about this? I don't know. It just there was no chemistry like with those women like Brad Pitt and George Clooney had chemistry together as like as the two people planning this heist in the original movies. Even in the Ocean's 12 and Ocean's 13, which are not good movies, they at least had an energy to them. This movie had no energy. Like it had no style to it. And the Ocean's movies, the first three, the first one is really the only good one. Like 12 and 13 are just okay to kind of bad. But at least with those films, you get A, the camaraderie of the cast, but B, like Steven Soderbergh knows how to hold a camera, right? So he knows how to shoot and give you cool shots and give you cool editing and you feel like kind of it feels Vegasy because it's like snazzy and hip and cool. And this, I got none of that. Like, who was the director on this? Let me look it up real quick.
Gary Ross.
Gary Ross. Gary Ross did nothing with it. What did he do? What did he Let me look him up real quick. What didn't he do? Crap! I gotta look him up real quick. Give me a second.
He did the first Hunger
Pleasantville.
Games.
Oh, he did Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking of Pleasantville, but like he did. Yeah, he did do Pleasantville. He did do Hunger Games. So he knows how to shoot a movie. Like those are two very visually interesting movies. But this was it was flat as a board, man. Nothing popped.
Yeah, it's one of those kind of forgettable features because it's like you're sitting there, you're trying to get into the characters, trying to get into the story, and like in the end you don't feel like anybody like I feel like there was really no arc to any of these characters. Like they kind of just kind of planned this heist. Yeah, it was successful, and then it's like nobody's really better off because
and then it's just over.
It's
like
just,
and then this movie just ends.
Yeah,
like,
it's just
okay,
over.
Here we go. Bye. We're done. It's like okay.
Like, all right, well,
yeah, it was
them.
really just kind of I really wanted it to be like I actually did want it to like be good, and it just wasn't good. Like I don't know, it was boring. It was a boring movie, and it's a shame that because I think that cast deserves better. You do get that one. You do get like a one. Like there's a couple call outs because you get a not really a cameo from George Clooney, but you kind of you see a picture of him or something, and then you see the Elliot Gould shows up for a minute, and the amazing Yen, or is that his name from the first movie? Little Chinese guy.
Yeah,
he pops up, and that's about it.
Yeah, and quite frankly, those are the only parts that popped me were the cameos. So and James Corden was pretty funny in the little like 5 minutes he had, but still.
Yeah, he was okay.
Yeah, this was kind of a meh movie.
He was basically there to like, this is how they got away with it, and it was like, okay. I don't know, man. Like it just when you have a heist movie, it should feel fun. Like whether it's Ocean's 11 or any I'm trying to think of another heist movie. I can't think of one right now, but it should feel fun and energetic, and this had no energy.
Yeah. It's just kind of by the numbers, just going through the motions in a way. But speaking of going through the motions in a bad way, I really want to watch this. I'm sure it's on video on demand at this point because the Blu-ray came out a couple of weeks ago. It's like it's one of those things where I know I shouldn't waste my time with it, but it's so infamous now that I just out of curiosity's sake, I kind of want to just kind of check this out. Because I'm noticing it's around the same time as Oceans came out, and that's freaking gaudy, bro. Remember all the swirl around
dude.
that 0%? on Rotten
Dude,
Tomatoes.
the movie that MoviePass tried to sell you so hard on. Um,
Yes, that's right.
every time I opened up MoviePass, whenever I still had it, it was like, see Gotti in theaters. Like, no, I'm not
I
gonna
don't
do
want
that.
to.
I am not gonna look at watch Gotti. That movie looked horrendous.
The best part about all of that, bro, was like the pictures on freaking on Twitter of people like actually going to see it, and like they're the only ones in the theater.
Yeah.
Everybody was taking pictures of themselves by it alone in the theater, like in freaking like peak showings, peak show times. Like they're the only ones in the theater, bro. It's fucking hilarious. I got off on all of that shit.
Ugh, yeah, that looked really
Oh
bad.
man,
I don't know why. I mean, that's the only way you would get to see that movie is if you like use like a movie pass or something. Because like, there's no way anybody wanted to pay for that.
freaking 0%, bro. Oh my god, and it's still 0%.
Jesus, how bad is this movie? I know. There's no way I want to spend my time watching that. I got better things to do than
Let's
watch.
see. Let's see. So it joins. Let's see. Who else does it join? Because Wikipedia actually has an entry like list of films with a 0% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Let's see. So Cabin Fever is 0%.
Cabin Fever.
What else
Really?
did I? Yeah.
The
Bucky Larson, Born to Be a Star. That's 0%. Yeah, that one sucks.
the horror movie Cabin Fever.
Let's. Yeah, the horror movie.
Huh. I didn't think it was that bad.
2016. Oh, the 2016 one, not the
Oh, I was
Eli
thinking,
Roth
like,
2002 one.
okay. Yeah, I was like, it wasn't that
Not the
bad.
Eli Roth one. This is the remake or
Gotcha,
whatever
gotcha.
this is. Let's see. One Missed Call. I think that was that horror movie, right? About the phone. That one has 0%. What other ones do I? Super Babies, Baby Geniuses 2 has 0%. Oh my god. Look Who's Talking Now. Really? That has 0%. I kind of like that movie. Even though I haven't seen it in like 20 years, but whatever. Anyway, remember, this is probably 10-year-old me liking that movie still. Staying Alive has 0%.
Oh, I've seen Staying Alive.
Really?
Oh, it's bad. Oh, it's not good. That's the sequel to Saturday Night Fever, right? Yeah, that's a horrible movie.
And then finally Jaws the Revenge, bro. 0%. And and Police Academy 4 0%.
Yeah, that's
Anyway.
deserved.
All right, so enough about freaking horrible 0% movies. Let's see what else we got here. Did you ever see Sicario?
No, I never got around to it.
Yeah, I actually thought about doing a blind buy, buying that Blu-ray because I heard it was good. And of course Benicio is Benicio in that movie, and he's awesome. So I might just do a blind buy and just check it out. I probably won't regret it either because usually the first one's good. So I bought it for $5 recently, so I finally got my hands on that one.
You know, I don't love the first one. Like I was disappointed in the first
Really?
one. Yeah, I thought that the main character was kind of. I thought she didn't work for me, and she, it's been a while since I saw it, but I forget the exact criticism I had of it. But I remember like I had a problem with the main character and how her story resolved itself, and I remember thinking that Benicio's character was way more interesting than. Was it Emily Blunt? Was that her, or was it somebody else?
Emily Blunt, yeah, was the
yeah.
cop, yeah.
I remember thinking like Emily Blunt, who's the main character, was way less interesting than Benicio del Toro or Josh Brolin. So I was like, why is she even the star of the movie? Like, there's no point. And she's a good actress. Like, it's not like her fault. It was like the script, like, just killed it. Like, I thought that she was boring, and it just killed my interest in the movie. Like, I kept waiting, like, let me see Benicio again, you know? So I think they were smart in making the sequel about him because
they rectified. I was gonna say they rectified that apparently in this one. So I'll probably check that out soon. What else we got here? I do have the first Purge on a blind buy because I'm a fan of the Purge franchise now. Like I said, I remember when I first did when we did the first Purge movie, not the first Purge, but the original. Here we go with this confusing ass title shit. When we did the original, I guess the first Purge film, and I remember shitting all over that. I think I went on a rant about that movie too, about how awful it was, and then. Ever since that one, I've kind of been digging the sequels, and I actually blind bought this one, but I still haven't opened it yet. I haven't bought it. I haven't bought it. I haven't watched it yet. but I will get around to that hopefully in a couple of weeks or so, maybe in a couple of days if I have some time. But I am looking forward to checking that out. I know that the mini series that's on USA right now, the like 10 episode limited series, I heard it's really good. Probably better than any of the films. So I do want to check that out on demand once it's wrapped up because it looks I'm a mark for this franchise now. I don't know what you think about this.
Um, I've only seen the first one, not the first Purge, but the first film released,
Yeah.
The Purge, which I wasn't a fan of because I thought they wasted the concept. But like I know you've said, I know talking to you, you said that the concept works better in the sequel, so I will probably check them out at some point. I do like the marketing campaign behind the first Purge, with the red hat and everything. But yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
I knew you'd pop for that. Yeah. It gets very heated. I'm just gonna call it heated because I don't want to take sides or anything right now. I'm trying to be as apolitical as possible here. But yeah, it does blatantly take sides, and you'll probably like the side it takes. But um anyway, but I do plan on checking out that limited series when it's ready. So I think there's like a couple episodes left on that one, and then I will check that out on demand. I'm actually very excited to finally start watching that. I do want to talk about a couple of movies though, very briefly. Um, so we didn't get a chance to really focus on the fact that I think we may have talked about it on one of the older shows, probably like around February or March when that first trailer dropped, or when the announcement came. But Mamma Mia got a sequel.
Oh
Like
yes.
for real, Mamma Mia got a sequel, bro. The one movie that probably didn't ask for a sequel, didn't deserve a sequel, got a sequel. And yet there's other movies out there that we want sequels and we're not getting them. So that's how that shit works, apparently. But yeah, I don't.
Well,
I
the
bet
first
you
movie
probably didn't see
did
it.
make a lot of money, from what I remember. Like, I remember it was like it came out like either the same week or like the week after Dark Knight came out that summer. I
Yeah.
remember it was like very specific, like counter programming to the Dark Knight, and it made a lot of money. Like, it didn't make Dark Knight money, but I remember it made like a good bit of money. That so like it's not necessarily surprising that they did a sequel because it's a cash grab, but it is surprising in the sense of like first of all, full disclosure, I've never seen it. Never seen the original stage production. Never saw the movie. I get the gist of it from the trailers. I understand the story of it. But to me, it's like, why creatively? Why did we need this? Financially, I get it. Creatively, why did we need this?
Really, bro? So you've never heard the pipes on Pierce Brosnan?
I've heard that they were not very good. Those pipes.
I need. Here's what I want. Here's what I want you to do. You don't have to watch the sequel, but please, please go watch the first film. And I want you to come back, not next week, but whenever you see it, come back on the following show after that, and I want you to tell me who has the better pipes, Pierce or freaking Russell Crowe and Les Mis, bro. That's who I want to know.
Well, that's not a high
Who has
standard
the
there.
better? Exactly. So you know where I'm going with this.
Ouch.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, yeah, you got the gist of it. But like, if you go watch it for that sole reason, and then come back to me with that, I'd even like to find out how you compare Meryl Streep's pipes to Russell Crowe's. But actually, that's not fair. She actually has a decent singing voice. But anyway, so yeah, so we got a sequel to Mamma Mia, and I'm bringing this up because it came out on Blu-ray yesterday, and yes, after I took my mother to see Halloween because she's actually been wanting to see that one. So it was my second round checking that one out. Afterwards, we stopped by Best Buy. I wanted to pick up Sorry to Bother You, which is the movie I want to talk about next after this little segment we're doing here. But
Yeah, I need to catch
actually
up with
picked
that
up the
one. That's
Blu-ray for her.
on demand now. I got to catch up with it.
Yeah, but I saw that the Best Buy had one of the Steelbook editions for that film, which why did this movie get a fucking Steelbook? but freaking what's it called? Oh god, what's the movie? What's coming out or it just came out? There was some movie that I was pissed it didn't get a Steelbook. But freaking Mamma Mia got a Steelbook. But yeah, so I picked that up for my mother because she's a huge ABBA mark. Huge ABBA mark. So I kind of like as a child I grew up with those songs because she'd always play her old record, her ABBA records, which evolved into ABBA cassettes, which evolved into ABBA CDs. So I kind of grew up with that kind of music, which is why I don't mind. Like, I went to see the play. The play is actually awesome. All things considered. Movie's pretty faithful. The original film was pretty faithful to the play. And then here, it's just, it's basically a retelling of Meryl Streep's character's life as a younger woman who's played by Lily James in this film, and it's just I didn't feel the story was that important, or I mean, all the characters are pretty well established, pretty well written, in the first movie. That you don't need a backstory to Meryl Streep's character. So this was essentially a cash grab to just rehash some of the ABBA songs that they already used in the first one, bring in a couple of other ones that use some of the more popular ones that kind of slipped through the radar, and then just kind of give us a cash grab film, which is what I didn't really like about it. But I will say this. Lily James is really good here because with the way her mannerisms are, the way she talks, I can kind of see her as being a young Meryl Streep. Really good. And that's what made that work for me. So whenever she was on screen, she kind of just took over. And that's what I really liked about her. Like, I could really see her and picture like younger Meryl Streep character in her. And I mean, she did her job great. And, she sold me on that character, which is the big high spot for me. Everything else was just kind of meh, kind of along the lines of Ocean's 8. It was just a meh movie. Pierce Brosnan didn't get to sing that much, thank God. He only got maybe 2 lines of singing, I think, but solo singing, I should say, because he's a lot of ensemble shots. But yeah, Andy Garcia coming out at the end with a cameo was pretty wacky. I love Andy Garcia, but
what was he doing there?
He nothing, pretty much. You kind of just he was Fernando. If you know ABBA's
oh Jesus
discography,
okay, yeah, all right.
Fernando's one of the he was Fernando. So anyway, it was a meh movie, but I'm sure it made all the ABBA fans like my mother happy. So I think that's all it asked for, and it made back pretty good box office. So hopefully there won't be another Mamma Mia, but I mean, they set out what they wanted to do, and they did it. So, but like I kind of mentioned already before, the reason I went into Best Buy in the first place was to pick up Sorry to Bother You. And man, I don't want to talk about it that much because I know you want to see it. And then maybe we'll do a little more in depth later on afterwards. But man, this talk about, and I think I mentioned this very, very, very briefly on the last episode. If you thought The Last Jedi subverted your expectations, bro, this movie redefines the term subverting your expectations, bro, because you think, especially based on the trailer, you think it's going one way, and then halfway through the film, it just freaking does a freaking donut on you and goes in a completely opposite direction. And it's freaking awesome, bro. The way that it kind of does that, because it's earned, in my opinion. It really progresses because you're following the main character. I forget the actor's name, and I don't know how to say his first name either.
Lakeith Stanfield.
Lakeith Stanfield.
Lakeith Stanfield.
Yeah, that's him.
From
Lakeith Stanfield. Yeah, there you go. He's awesome in this movie, and from what you see in the trailer, that's how kind of the movie starts with him, getting a job at the call center, him having the rough luck, and then Danny Glover out of nowhere coming and saying, you got to use your white voice, and then that's when kind of the whole narrative takes off once he starts finding the success as the telemarketer using his white voice, which there's so many undertones in that. It's not even, he does, Boots Riley doesn't even try to hide it, bro. And that's what makes it great. But halfway through the film, it kind of just takes his arc. It kind of just shifts it in another direction completely. And what you get is something that you're kind of just sitting there as the credits roll and you're like, what the fuck did I just watch? You're just sitting there you're in amazement that Boots Riley took it in this completely unexpected and weird direction, and yet somehow it still works with the story he was telling. Because if you know Boots Riley, and especially Boots Riley's politics, it all makes sense. Even Headcase, who I talked to about it right after, because I think he had saw it right before I did. And he talked about how he follows Boots Riley's music, so he knows kind of his background, his political and all that. So he goes like, if you knew that ahead of time, then you're not surprised by the way he took like the way he took the story. And yeah, like there's so many like um undertones, racial, political undertones, and all of that. And he doesn't even try to hide it. So definitely check that out, Adolfo, when you have a chance. I really want to get your thoughts on that since you're into the politics game as well. So I definitely want to get your take on that when you see it. But that's a great freaking film. I picked that up yesterday, first day, and I can't wait to watch it again.
All right, definitely gonna check it out.
Yeah. Uh, I think I briefly talked about Skyscraper. You know, it's The Rock jumping onto skyscrapers, beating up bad guys. You know, it's Die Hard, except it's not in Christmas. So it is what it is. What else we got? I talked about Eighth Grade already. I think on the last episode. That's a great film. Definitely check that one out when you got a
Yeah,
minute.
that's another one
Um,
that's on my list. I have way too many to catch up with.
so we did talk Mission Impossible, I believe, on the last episode, or didn't we?
We we briefly said it like as we were signing off. It's like, oh, Mission Impossible is awesome. Yeah, it was awesome. And that was always.
Well, that's pretty much all you need to know, everybody. Mission Impossible Fallout, freaking awesome, man. I had a great time with that movie,
um,
as I did with all the Mission Impossible.
yeah, no, it was a really fun movie. I think it was probably the best one since Ghost Protocol. I like Rogue Nation, but like I think this was better than Rogue Nation. I would
Mhm.
say out of this, there's six or five, five, right? No, six. There's six
Six.
movies.
This is the sixth one. Yeah.
I might. This is the top three for me. Um, I would put this in the top three. I still think Ghost Protocol is probably the best one. So this is either number two or number three for me.
You know what I find most amazing about not just this movie, but this whole franchise, dude, is the fact that I went into this movie like, oh, it's another Mission Impossible movie. All right. I mean, I liked Rogue Nation, so I'll give this a chance. It's like I don't want to say I was apathetic to it, but it's one of those like, all right, I'll check it out. And the same thing happened to me with Rogue Nation. I kind of went into it like, I'll check it out. And I come out of the movie like freaking loving it. Like I love how it's able to kind of just take my indifference to it and it makes me a fan and it makes me believe in it just by the way the story goes, by the action sequences, by just Tom Cruise being Tom Cruise, bro. And it's just I love how it's able to do that with my emotions and fuck it, man. I can't wait for the next Mission Impossible. I know there's going to be another one. There has to be. I didn't think there's going to be another one after Rogue Nation, especially with the way that story went. But I mean, if they could
Dude, that
squeeze another one out, I'm sure that they're going to squeeze out like two more at this point.
yeah, I mean, he knows what to do with he knows what to do with those movies, man. He deserves a lot of credit. He serves as the producer on those films. What I like, I think there was some story. It was like some behind the scenes footage or something, or he was like how he's the producer of the movie, right? But he also does his own stunts, like as he famously also does his own
Yeah,
stunts. So like the sequence where they jump out of the plane and do the skydiving thing, that was Tom Cruise that did that. But Henry Cavill did not do that. Now, don't
right.
judge Henry Cavill too harshly because Henry Cavill reportedly did want to do his own stunt for the skydiving sequence. But Tom Cruise, as his boss, as producer, said, no, you don't know what you're doing. I know what I'm doing. You're getting a stunt double, which I think is kind of hilarious. So, like that, like he can like pull that kind of weight with him. But Tom Cruise is crazy. Like, I mean, we all know about his Scientology stuff, and like, you know what? At the end of the day, I don't really care so much about that stuff. Um, he is a good filmmaker in the sense that he's a producer and he knows how to produce a good film, and he's a good action star, and I mean he produces good quality entertainment. So I can't really. And these movies have all, with the exception of part two, they've all been good. So yeah, I really liked Fallout. I think the only minor quibble I have is that I thought well, I don't want to give away, but there's like a couple different villains. Like the villain that you see
Yeah,
for the most of the time before you see who like the real quote unquote real villain is, like before that's revealed,
right.
the other guy was kind of boring. Like I thought that he, and maybe that's
Right.
okay because he's kind of the red herring, and there were the other person is really the real villain. But that guy was kind of boring. I just have to say. I thought he was a little on the. So that's why I think. So it's in my top three. I would say I would probably put it number three with Mission Impossible 3, my number two, because Philip Seymour Hoffman in that movie was freaking amazing as the bad guy. But yeah, that's my only quibble with that movie. The action sequences are great. Henry Cavill was pretty good in this movie. Like even though like he's not the world's greatest actor, he was pretty decent in this movie, especially as like an intimidating blunt object. Like that bathroom fight scene was awesome.
Yeah.
And like how he cocks his arms like he's loading. But yeah, great movie, great action food.
Yeah, and while he was on screen, I couldn't. Every time he showed up, I just kept thinking, so this is the movie that needed the mustache on him.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
caused all the problems at Justice League.
It's a better movie than Justice League.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see. We did talk about Christopher Robin last episode. Let me see. We did do Black Klansman. Let me see. Did you see Crazy Rich Asians?
No, again, another one on my list, man. It's I just this baby has just kind of like pushed everything to the back burner. So I think a lot of these I'm gonna have to end up watching on demand. But I've heard Crazy Rich Asians is pretty decent.
Yeah, honestly, meh.
Okay.
It's okay. It's meh for me. I'll tell you why. Because it's your standard by the numbers romantic comedy with that predictable on all fronts. The reason why it's getting so much praise and exposure is because, and rightfully so, it is an all Asian cast in this movie, which is pretty historic. So I get it. Everybody's happy that this finally happened in a movie
So I
and
mean,
a big,
and
Hollywood production, which is good.
and it is important for representation. Representation matters, especially for people who don't feel like they're represented in Hollywood in big screen, big budget or mainstream releases and everything. So that is important. But so what you're saying is though, you take that element out of that. That's what makes it special because otherwise it's a by the numbers romantic comedy. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Without that attention to it, it's just your standard romantic comedy.
Well,
You know.
I'm still gonna try and get to try and see it at some point because it is kind of such a huge cultural milestone this year. I feel like it's going to be one of those movies
That
at the end of the year
right,
everyone's going to be talking about. So, like, so I am going to try to watch it.
right. All right. Let's see what else. I wanted to see The Nun. I missed out on that one, but I'll definitely check that out when it comes out on video on demand. Definitely check that one out. I gotta see. I think I did briefly talk about A Simple Favor last time. Freaking Paul Feig, bro, lost a lot of equity with me after Ghostbusters, but I think he earned most of it back after this one. Definitely check that out too. Like when it comes out, it's pretty awesome actually.
I didn't even know
I'd
this
give it
movie.
maybe like 3 out of 5. A Simple Favor, really? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Paul Feig's tribute to Hitchcock, bro.
What? How?
It's
What?
freaking
I'm way
Anna
out of the
Kendrick
loop.
and Blake
What?
Lively. Bro,
This
you've never heard of A Simple Favor?
no. This is like way out of my
Oh,
like. Okay.
I'm okay. So while you're on the air right now, here's what I'm about to do. I'm actually going to send you the written review I wrote for that movie right now onto No, I'm sending it to your Facebook. That way, you can kind of just check it out when you have a minute. So I won't talk about it that much. I actually do want to get kind of your thoughts on this when you finally see it, but it's pretty awesome. Like I said, it's Paul Feig's new film. This is his newest one right after Ghostbusters, and we remember how much we shit on that one. So that guy lost a lot of equity with me after that film. But yeah, I think it's a return to form for him. It's something that I'm sure it's probably something he's wanted to do for a while, and it shows in a lot of the way that he filmed the everything, the way he kind of structured the narrative, and I think it worked. Anne Hathaway and Blake Lively have great chemistry together.
Me and Anna
And
Kendrick.
and and yes, and speaking of Crazy Rich Asians, the dude who plays what's his name? Henry Golding, I think is his name. That's the actor. He was the romantic male lead in Crazy Rich Asians. He's also the male lead in this movie too. So he got two paydays in the last couple of months. So good for him.
Dude,
And yeah, it's pretty awesome actually. So check that out.
I have no idea where this movie came from, dude. Like, I really I've never even heard of it.
That's actually pretty amazing that you haven't heard of it.
Wow. I
Hold
told
on.
you, I'm
I'm
out of a
actually
loop.
gonna. Let me see. Hold on. I'm actually gonna send you. Here's what I'm gonna send you right now, so that you can kind of pop for this poster, bro. Because if this poster doesn't scream, I love Hitchcock, and this is a Hitchcock tribute, nothing else does. So let me find that for you. Is it here? Yes, it's right here. Check this out, bro. Look at that shit.
Hold on. Oh yeah, that's I see the influence. Interesting.
Right?
So is it like a thriller?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's supposed to be like a mystery slash thriller slash I don't want to say it's not really a horror film. It's just call it a thriller, actually.
All right. Interesting.
Yeah, so definitely check that out. So I won't say too much about it other than it's awesome. Go check it out.
I've way
Let's
too
see.
much to catch up on, man.
Let's see what else we got. I think after that now we can kind of move on to what we need to talk about, because there's a couple of movies I still have to catch up on. I'm gonna wait for A Star Is Born. I've seen it already. I know you're gonna see it relatively soon, so we'll probably talk about that one next episode.
Yeah, my wife and I are going to do a date night for that one. That's this weekend. So once I get that, we'll knock that one out, because I've been wanting to see it. I've heard very good things about it. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah. The Hate U Give, I do want to check that out probably within the next week or so. I'm hearing good things about that. Really good stuff. So I do want to see that. And I do want to check out Bad Times at the El Royale. I have been looking forward to that one as well. So hopefully, I think that one I'm going to see first, probably on Saturday, since there's really nothing coming out this weekend. So I'll probably catch up on some of the older ones like that one, The Hate U Give. So
Come on, man. You don't want to see Johnny English?
Well, considering I haven't seen the first Johnny English, but Rowan Atkinson is awesome though. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I did see First Man, so I don't know if you're gonna check that out. I'll probably hold off on talking about that one too, because you should probably check that one out also.
Sorry, go back again. I missed what you said. What did you see?
Oh, First Man.
Oh, First Man. Yes. Yeah. That's again another one I have to check out on, dude. Babies take up all my time.
Yeah. So now that, and I did see Mid-90s. It comes out this weekend. I am gonna hold off on that one as well. You might, I don't know if you'll probably see that relatively soon as well. But so I'm gonna hold off on talking about that one. But let's do Venom right now. So
do we
Venom.
have to?
So as is usually tradition on this show, whenever it's a comic book movie, I kind of give you the floor first to kind of give us the small plot synopsis and kind of start with your thoughts on the film. So let's continue that. Tell us a little bit about Venom.
I mean, honestly, honestly, you could do this review yourself, or this synopsis yourself, because this bears very little resemblance to the actual comic book character Venom, other than the look of the character and the name of the character. Everything else is plays very fast and loose with the rules. In the original comic book, Venom is Eddie Brock, who is a photographer. He's either a photographer or a journalist. I can't remember which. He might be both. In the comic books, who works at the Daily Bugle with Peter Parker. He prints a fake story, gets him fired.
Who's Peter Parker?
Yeah, exactly. With Peter Parker, Spider-Man, he prints a fake story. He gets a fake story printed. Ends up getting him fired, and he blames Peter Parker / Spider-Man for that, for his getting fired. Which actually, even though this movie sucks, they kind of cover that relatively quickly in Spider-Man 3. And then in the comics, he does get possessed by the symbiote, which had previously possessed Peter Parker, giving him all the powers of Spider-Man plus all the powers of the symbiote. And with all the powers of Spider-Man, Peter Parker, he finds out who Peter Parker is. He knows that he's Spider-Man. He knows everything about him because the symbiote was previously attached to Spider-Man, so he knows all of his secrets, his real name, his and then he proceeds to kind of invade his life, threaten him, and becomes one of his biggest villains. This movie does none of that. This movie, Eddie Brock is much more of a heroic figure in the beginning. Not heroic, but much more of a likable character in the sense that he's a very woke, online, I want to say YouTube journalist, but he's certainly like an online kind of journalist, who like is exposing corporations and all the evil shit they do and the shady government, and not quite liberal Alex Jones, but like kind of liberal Alex Jones, right? So, and he's out there doing like work for the common man or whatever. So he's not a shady reporter like he is in the comics. That's the first thing. Second, and then in this one, instead of him getting the symbiote from Spider-Man, instead a space shuttle crashes on Earth, and the symbiote has come down with that, and then in investigating this kind of Elon Musk kind of corporate CEO dude, in investigating that, he comes across a lab with the symbiotes, gets it attached to him, and then he goes off on his adventure to say whatever. That's the basic gist of it. It's not, again, there's very little resemblance to the Spider-Man comics. It completely ignores Spider-Man altogether. Which is interesting because Sony does own the film rights to Spider-Man, but they decided instead, because Spider-Man is tied up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they decided to go ahead and do a standalone Venom movie. And creative deficits aside, it was a smart move because it has ended up making a lot of money for the studio. So we're definitely going to be getting a sequel for this. So. That's basically the basic synopsis. It takes the symbiote takes over Eddie. He learns how to function with it and kind of cohabitate with it, and then stops the Elon Musk bad guy in the end. I mean, that's the gist of it. I didn't hate the movie, but I didn't like it. It was just really kind of just in the middle for me. When I say I didn't hate it, that's actually as high of a compliment as I could give it, because I really thought I was going to hate this movie. And there were parts that were kind of entertaining, but for the most part, it was just kind of a bad movie.
It's funny. I was actually, I was hoping that fucking Tom Hardy would be able to say what my favorite quote. My favorite Edward Brock Jr. quote, bro, where he literally goes to the church and he kneels down and he's like, "It's Brock, sir. Edward Brock Jr. I only ask for one thing. I want you to kill Peter Parker." I can't watch Spider-Man 3, bro, without thinking of that and just laughing, bro. That's my favorite Venom moment, when he's in the church, bro, and he asks God to kill Peter Parker. That's freaking awesome. and not in a good way awesome, but anyway, so let's get back on topic. As far as this Venom goes, with me, I'm kind of in your boat in the sense, but maybe a little more optimistic, because I was going through this movie, right, and halfway through I was sitting there like, you know what, this is an okay film. I'm digging this. I'm enjoying myself. I'm having fun. Tom Hardy's great. I kind of like the interaction he has with the symbiote, with Venom. The banter they kind of have off of each other is pretty funny. It's entertaining. I'm digging this. People were shitting on this on Twitter the last week or so, but I like it. It's pretty fine. And then the fucking movie enters that third act, which is a fucking mess, by the way. And it takes that equity that was built up in the first like hour 15, hour 20, whatever running time that is, and just throws it all the way, flushes it down the fucking toilet, and says, "Fuck you for investing so much in me."
Yeah,
because I suck.
I feel the same way. That third act was a hot piece of shit mess. So Riz Ahmed plays the Elon Musk guy, and I keep using Elon Musk because that's like the most that's the biggest parallel I could make. He's like a tech genius guy that like is creating a bunch of different like things to lead us into the future, but he's really kind of shady, right? And he all right. So the whole movie, right? The whole movie, they talk about these symbiotes and how like they start testing them on like homeless people, to like so first of all there's your big evil, like this company is evil because they start testing these symbiotes on homeless people, and you find out that it's kind of like an organ transplant, like you have to have an exact match or it's not going to work, because if it attaches itself to a host and the host dies, the symbiote could die, blah 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 blah, because there's several symbiotes running around, right? um, so they go through they set that all up, and then when it finally attaches itself to Eddie, it's like, oh, it's a perfect match. This is the first time it's happened, right? But then, and by the way, and then the rest of the whole second act is Eddie trying to figure out how to work this suit and cohabitate with the suit and whatever. But then the Riz Ahmed just puts it on like the one time, perfect match automatically, and he knows exactly what to do. And it's like, what the you know what it reminded me of? This movie, if you scale down the effects to like 1990s effects, it's something that would have been released in like the 90s before like people knew what the fuck to do with superhero movies, because that last act like screamed a
Oh my
1990s
god.
superhero movie to me. Like, we're like, okay, now we're just gonna throw everything at the screen, and then we're gonna watch the two guys fight, and then blah blah blah. Like, it sucked. Like, okay, like it just was terrible. Like the two like symbiotes fighting each other. It was like watching just two.
And half the time you couldn't even tell who was who because everything was just splashed on the
Everything was
screen.
black. Everything was black. Exactly. And it was like all of a sudden, like you're just watching like two. There's no humans in there. Like, you're just seeing like, yeah, I know if you're watching Infinity War or whatever, like you're seeing a bunch of like computer generated people fighting each other, but at least you could tell like, okay, that's Chris Evans and that's Robert Downey Jr. or whatever. Like, here it's like you're just seeing two blobs fighting each other, and it's like so uninteresting. And whatever. The movie sucked. Like, that last act sucked. I was really annoyed with it. And also, the Riz Ahmed character, why is he evil? Like, there's no explanation. He has no, what's the word I'm looking for? He has no motivation in this. Like, what is it? What drives him? Like, what drives him to be evil? Like, the only thing you find out at the beginning is, like, he wants to, like, advance science and, take people to another planet. That's it. That's all he says. Like, there's nothing inherently evil about that. So why is he evil? Why is he like within like 20 minutes like testing things out on homeless people to kill him? Like, he has no depth. He's just a one-dimensional like mustache twirling villain, and it's like, this is so uninteresting to me.
Yeah. My dastardly evil plan. Yeah,
And you
exactly.
know what? We're going to talk about another villain in the next movie that seemingly has no motivation, that is just evil, but that's a different story, and it's played differently, but we'll get to that later. But like in this movie, like it's just it just goes from like, okay, he's kind of a douchey Elon Musk kind of guy, and now he's killing homeless people and he's gonna go crazy. Like, why does he go crazy? Michelle Williams completely wasted in this movie, by the way.
Oh, and you know what? You can kind of just tell from her performance here. I mean, it wasn't bad,
She
but
was
this was
cashing a
obviously her
paycheck.
paycheck movie.
Yeah,
This was
she
a
was
paycheck
cashing a
movie for her.
paycheck.
Yeah.
Or like
Um,
maybe she has kids and like her kids wanted to see her in a comic book movie or whatever. Like, so that this is not like, this is her between Oscar nominations movies. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
she's here to cash a paycheck and like to buy to put her kids through college or something. You know what I mean? This is nothing like she kind of phoned it in here. I mean, she had some funny moments, but like, for the most part, she's kind of phoning it in here. And there were what, honestly, the best moments in the movie were the moments where Tom Hardy had just has like, he's freaking out and he's trying to figure out what the hell is wrong with him, and he's like, and the interaction he has with Michelle Williams' new boyfriend, That's actually the best stuff in the movie. It's actually kind of funny and entertaining, and then everything else around it is like I was so uninterested.
The restaurant scene is awesome, where he
The
kind
restaurant
of
scene
just
is
starts
funny.
eating everybody's plate, bro, and jumps into the lobster tank. That shit was hilarious.
The restaurant scene is actually pretty
But
amusing.
yeah. Um, my sister asked me about my thoughts on Venom because she's a Venom mark too. So she's like, "Oh, how was it?" And I said to her, "Let me put it to you like this. That climax, I compare it to a 5-year-old somehow getting to his into his parents' garage and opening a can of paint and dipping his hands in that paint, just smearing it all over the wall. That's what that climax feels like to me. It's just a lot of blobs on the screen of nothing. You can't even tell what's what. It has no distinct shape. You don't know what's going on, and it's just confusing. You're
Like,
trying to get invested in this fight, and you can't.
who thought
I
that when you
I dare
have
say
a
that the special effects in Green Lantern are better than this.
well, I don't know if I'd go that far, dude. Because on the close-ups, it looked okay, but the suit, I mean, the fight at the end is really horrible. But like the rest of the movie, when it's just like when you're just looking at its face and stuff, that looks okay. It doesn't look great, but it looks okay. Um, I don't know whose bright idea it was that when you have a main character that is a big black like suit of deep dark like black, why you would shoot most of the scenes at night. That doesn't make any sense to me, especially the climax.
Right.
Like, why do you need it to be at night? Is it like, are you just trying to set a mood because, oh, this is a dark character, blah, blah, blah? No. Like, I don't care what mood you're trying to set. It looks like shit. Like, put it in the daylight because then it actually contrasts with things and you can see what the fuck is going on. Like, there's so much, like, the cinematography here was garbage. It was really bad. Um, I don't know what else to say. And then here's the thing. I don't really like the Venom character in general. I think that his early appearances in the Spider-Man comics were very good. That initial storyline where he's stalking Peter Parker because he just got the suit, he knows who he is. That's all good. But everything after that initial story arc with him was horrible because then that's when the 90s kicked in and everything went gritty. Like every character went gritty, every comic book company went gritty, and like everything had to be edgy and cool. And then Venom, instead of being a villain, became an anti-hero. And he became really just completely uninteresting. And then they had the whole Maximum Carnage thing, and we're gonna get to Carnage in a second. They had the whole Maximum Carnage storyline, which was uh, garbage.
Really? You're not a fan of that?
No, I hated the Maximum Carnage storyline. The whole thing, it was just, in my
Well, the
opinion,
video game was cool.
what's that?
Video game was cool. At
The
least
video
as,
game
as,
was
as a
pretty
10 year
good. I
old.
had the red cartridge. I had the red Super Nintendo
Yeah.
cartridge.
Me too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the whole thing, Venom to me just became just like the very symbol of like cool, edgy anti-hero 1990s comic book characters, and I hated it. I much preferred him as the villain who was stalking Spider-Man, but they turned him into like a lame anti-hero like the Punisher. I'm not a fan of the Punisher either. So I already went into this movie with a bias, but like you said, they started to win me over with Tom Hardy's performance, but then it just lost me completely like halfway through. So yeah, I do not recommend this movie. I sad thing is we're definitely getting a sequel because it made a lot of money.
Hmm. But mid credit scene, I popped for it. Mainly because of the actor, not because of what it's, teasing. But should we tell him? Or
I
just
think it's out of the
well, I mean,
bag.
we're not recommending the movie, so we should probably just tell him.
It's out of the bag. People have been
Yeah.
talking about it anyway. It's been like people have been spoiling it in news stories anyway. Like next movie is gonna be Carnage, and so like Carnage is the next movie, and Woody Harrelson is Carnage. As far
Woody
as casting,
Harrelson, bro.
as far as casting goes, sure, why not? But I, again, if there's a character I dislike more than Venom, it's Carnage. Carnage is an absolutely shitty character. I don't care what anyone tells me. I hate Carnage. Carnage is a stupid character, and I don't really necessarily need to see an entire movie dedicated to him. And if they're gonna do that movie, which we know they will, um, instead of two black blobs fighting each other, we're gonna get a black blob and a red blob fighting each other. So hooray!
Yay to that, I guess. I just hate I hate having a film that has Carnage and Venom, but not Spider-Man. Like it does like the you know how long as a kid I wanted to see that Maximum Carnage storyline come into like a movie because I had got a kick out of the game. Never read the comic, admittedly, because I was not much of a comic guy as a kid, but I played the hell out of that video game, bro. And you know, when Spider-Man 3 came around, all I kept thinking about was like having reminiscing of, the Maximum Carnage game, being able to, play as Venom, play as Spider-Man, and, one day, hopefully we get Carnage as a bad guy. And now there's the possibility that we're going to get that movie now without Spider-Man. Like this whole Spider-Verse they're doing without Spider-Man doesn't make any sense. I don't get it.
They're going to do it, man, because they're going to make money. So whatever.
I know. It's just.
Hey, they could always go. They could always go the DC route and just just have their own Spider-Man, like that's not Tom Holland,
Yeah.
Just bring Andrew Garfield back.
I'm sure you heard the rumblings too that like Tom Holland was AKA either supposed to be or he was rumored to be like in this movie as like in I guess a post-credit scene or like a cameo, which would have been cool, but yeah. I mean, it wouldn't have fit anyway with this story. Like they even set this in freaking San Francisco, I think, away from New York.
Yeah,
like, it's far away from Spider-Man.
That is actually kind of relevant to the comics because whenever Venom in the comics becomes a hero, like he moves to San Francisco. So that is kind of on point with the books.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it is kind of like, all right, this is what we're doing now. I don't know, man. In theory, there's nothing that happened in this movie that can't eventually be folded into the MCU if they wanted to, but I don't think Marvel wants to.
Yeah. They probably want to do their own Venom right this time. Anyway, but yeah, that's Venom. Not a recommend from us.
No.
It's probably going to be out of theaters within the next week or so anyway, so definitely yeah, I wouldn't say it's a hard skip, but like maybe video on demand, like $1.99 rental or something, But other than that, I wouldn't waste my time. Anyway, so moving on from Venom, I finally get to talk about Halloween, bro, because I saw this movie twice now, and I enjoyed it the second time just as much as the first time. And let me just talk about this very quickly, because again, I don't get to talk about any of my Alamo stuff. We'll probably save that for next episode. But I did see it the first time Thursday night at Alamo Drafthouse in Brooklyn. Got my limited edition Halloween pint glass, which I sent you a picture of, which is pretty awesome. Drinking out of it right now, as we speak. I've been drinking out of it since I bought the thing. I had my Duff beer glass that I got at Universal Studios when I was in Orlando for Mania. I retired that one now for a little bit because now I'm drinking the hell out of the Halloween glass. But yeah, so great time at Alamo checking this out. And then, like I mentioned earlier, I did take my mother to see it yesterday for the $5 AMC Subs Tuesdays. So got to see it a second time. And what I wanted to mention about Alamo was I love how I always mention the Alamo pre-shows, because the Alamo pre-shows, whether they throw in some relevant old trailers or they throw in some relevant music videos or they do like their own little segments where they talk about a certain franchise or other franchises that inspired said franchise. It's really cool stuff. And what they did for Halloween, and I'm glad I got there early for it, was they did a little piece called Unraveling the Mythology, right? And it basically goes through every single Halloween film and the movies you have to watch in order for that to make sense. Because infamously, this new Halloween, you only need to watch the first one. It erases every single sequel and the Rob Zombie remakes, which I'm sure everybody would like to erase.
Including Halloween, the original Halloween 2, which which set up, which established the fact that Laurie was Michael's brother or sister, I should say, and then that's not a thing anymore.
That has now been retconned, absolutely, because now this is the according to the wiki page for Halloween, this is now the final timeline. This is the official canon timeline, Halloween, and then this Halloween
Until they reboot it,
which should be called Halloween 2. Yeah, pretty much.
Dude, they're gonna in 10 years, maybe less. They're gonna reboot it with a new actress, new actor, and change the story. They're gonna do it again. I mean, come on.
I mean, that's pretty much all they're doing. I mean, we're doing Pet Sematary, bro. Like, for real. I mean, the first Pet Sematary is fine. We don't need another one. But then again,
sometimes that is better. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't say Pet Sematary without saying sometimes that is better. You can't. It's automatically like it's a rule.
It's an involuntary trigger,
and you have to do it in like that what's that Herman Munster's voice? I forget his name. Fred Gwynn. They're doing Fred Gwynn's like Massachusetts voice. Like sometimes that is better. All right, better. Sorry. Continue.
Anyway, so I kind of like that whole piece they did unraveling the mythology. They went through every single sequel. They did Halloween H2, which actually was one of my favorites up to this point. And how that was technically supposed to be the last one, but of course that never lasts when it comes to horror franchises. And it had that definitive ending of Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode chopping off Michael's head with an axe, and then that's where it ends. Like that's it. That's it. It's over. You know. But then that got retconned to like that being like somebody else.
Real quick. I before we go on this, I just want to mention, because we're kind of talking about slashers and reboots. Did you see that news that LeBron James is going to produce the next Friday the 13th movie?
I did see that. That's wacky.
What?
LeBron James of all people.
What? Then again, Kobe won an Oscar last year, so who knows?
Yeah, exactly. Right, here I thought LeBron was working on Space Jam too. You know.
All right, sorry. Continue.
I thought that's what he was setting his sights on. But anyway, yeah. So, the whole infamous story about Halloween H2O supposedly being the last one, or intended to be the last one, I should say. That being retconned Halloween Resurrection, which sucked. And I love when they talked about Halloween Resurrection, it was so funny because they literally said the only thing worth mentioning about this movie is this scene. And it was the scene with the what was it? Who was the black guy in that movie? Was it Busta Rhymes? Was it? I forgot who was in that movie. But it was the kung fu scene.
Wait, hold on. Was it Busta Rhymes? I think it was Busta Rhymes.
I'm gonna check that out because I don't want to.
I gotta look it up. Hold on. I think it's Busta Rhymes. It's either Busta Rhymes or Coolio, but I think it's Busta Rhymes.
It is Busta Rhymes. Busta Rhymes. It's the scene where Busta Rhymes doing the kung fu with Michael, and then Michael just throws him out the window or some shit. But that was literally the only thing they mentioned from that movie, because that's all that's worth mentioning apparently. So and they're right. Then what I loved about that too is they don't even talk about the Rob Zombie films. Like they just completely ignore them, which is awesome.
I get to see the Rob Zombie versions. I've not heard good things though.
You know what it is, and I'll be as unbiased as possible when it comes to this. I have not seen part 2, so I can't really say whether I like it or not, even though I'm hearing negative stuff from here to Kingdom Come when it comes to that. The first one is okay from a certain perspective, because you get what Rob Zombie was trying to do, but again, as we're going to talk about with this Halloween film, is one of those things where he tries to make Michael sympathetic when that's not Michael Myers. He's not supposed to be sympathetic. You're not supposed to give him a story as to why he's evil. Like Dr. Loomis said in 1978, the guy is just evil. He's evil incarnate. You don't need a story to explain it. He's just evil, and that's what kind of pissed off a lot of people. But I'm sympathetic to what he was trying to do with it. It's just for someone like Michael Myers, it doesn't work, but if you ever see it, I'll let you be the judge of that, Adolfo. But now we can kind of talk about
Scream Factory 10 film set. I have never watched the Rob Zombie ones though.
But now we can talk about Halloween 2. I'm sorry, Halloween, the sequel to Halloween that's called Halloween, but Halloween 2008. Let's just call it, I guess 2018. It's 2008. I'm tired, man. I'm sorry. Halloween 2018, I guess. So I'll let you kind of start this off since I kind of went on the whole spiel about Alamo and all that, kind of relevant. But uh, tell us a little bit about Halloween 2018.
So Halloween 2018 takes place 40 years to the day after the original Halloween took place. Um, like you said, it ignores everything that happened between 1978 and 2018. All those movies are gone. Like they never existed. So Laurie Strode is not Michael Myers' sister. That never happened. That's pretty much the most important retcon right there. She was just a girl that he stalked on that night and tried to kill. Um, and it's the film starts out with these two podcasters who are trying to like do kind of like a making a murderer kind of podcast or serial kind of podcast on Michael Myers, which I thought was kind of clever. And trying to kind of see, but they go to like the mental institution where he's holed up. Loomis is now dead, probably because they probably killed him off because the actor well, I'm blanking on his name.
Donald Pleasant.
Donald Pleasance, thank you. I was
Donald
going to say
Pleasant.
Blofeld. No, that's not it.
Well, that is Donald Pleasant. But...
yeah. Donald Pleasance obviously died a long time ago, but so they have replaced him with a new doctor here. But Michael Myers is not responding to anything. They even have his old mask not responding to anything. And we also see that Laurie Strode is they try to talk to her. Laurie Strode is basically a shut-in. She's gone full Sarah Connor. They pretty much took a page out of Terminator 2. She's gone full Sarah Connor. She's trains on weapons. She knows how to use guns, knives. She's got booby traps in her house. She's got like a safe room, like everything. Like she's hardcore, like fucked up. She had a daughter that was taken away from her at a young age. She now has a granddaughter. The daughter kind of grew up resenting her. The granddaughter wants to reach out and like kind of mend fences because she still loves her grandmother. She wants to connect with her, but she's also like a normal teenage girl that wants to go out and have fun and party. As you would probably guess, Michael Myers breaks loose and goes on a killing spree, much like in the original Halloween. And he starts after he kills off several people. Then he starts tracking down the Strode women. And it culminates with at the very end in Laurie Strode's house. I'm not going to tell you how it ends, but it kind of you could probably guess that they were all going to end up with Laurie and her two daughter and her daughter and her granddaughter. I really enjoyed this film. I don't think it was perfect, but it was by far the best Halloween sequel I think we've ever had.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to not argue that, Adolfo, actually, because it's funny because you think about all of the past Halloween films, especially the original. I can't believe I'm calling it the original Halloween 2 now, but in the original Halloween 2.
Yeah.
It's like, I thought that was not, I don't want to say I was about to say perfect sequel. I'm trying to say it's a perfect sequel, but it complemented the first film well, and it added layers to, to the mythology that would kind of be expanded in the subsequent films. With this, it felt like a natural sequel. Why? Not because of anything that, with the characters specifically, but I think the way that David Gordon Green shot this and the way that, him and Danny McBride kind of structured the script and the screenplay, it feels like something that Carpenter would make. It's in the style of Carpenter. And that's not something that I could really say about any of the other Halloween films necessarily. But with this one, it felt like it's something like if Carpenter were to taken up this movie, I would have felt that this is the movie that would have come out. Like it felt like a Carpenter Halloween sequel. Like the way they did it, it was a perfect homage to Carpenter, to like all of his styles. Perfect homage, I think, to the entire franchise. It was a love letter to the whole Halloween franchise because the eagle-eyed viewers can find a lot of little Easter eggs when it comes to the Halloween franchise as a whole. Most of them as well as through watching this. I found a couple of them on the second rewatch actually, but it just feels like this is the natural Halloween sequel that was meant to be. And that's what I got a kick out of it. It's just just little things, just from the music, which is, which Carpenter came back to do the music, was awesome. I love the little kind of remix he did to his original Halloween theme. It actually makes it kind of even more head bobbingly awesome. Um, just kind of the camera angles they use, some of the musical cues that were done were kind of ripped right out of the 1978 original film as an homage. And I don't know, man, it just something Carpenter would make, and I dug it. Like, I bought it as a viewer. Like, this is the Halloween sequel. This is it, you know.
Yeah, and if we want to get deep into to like the themes of the first film versus this film, I want to get into that. But I do kind of want to just go into a couple of things I did have an issue with the film. Like I said, it's not perfect. It's not as perfect like the first Halloween was perfect, in my opinion. First Halloween is a perfect slasher movie, whereas this one was like it's like a B plus, right? It's very good, but it had some things that I did kind of I did have an issue with. The first one was the new Loomis that they even call out in the film as the new Loomis. I thought that did not need to be there. Like, that was, I think, like, just there to, like, kind of as a call out to, like, have, oh, we need another doctor to kind of, like, watch him or whatever. But then I don't want to spoil anything, but basically he does something at the beginning of the third act that's like, what?
That's dumb.
That's like,
Yeah, it's
I
dumb.
hated it. I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. Like, it's really stupid. Thankfully, it doesn't last long. But the fact that they took it there was like, I don't like this choice at all. I really hated that. I also thought that actor was
Bro,
kind of bad
bro,
in general.
they pulled it, and I won't say. I'm sure people will get the reference once I say this, but I won't say exactly what happens. But if you notice with that guy, they pulled the trick out of the old Tom Savini playbook with that, and I got a kick out of it. If you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know what you're saying. um, yeah,
That was unexpected though to me. That's why I kind of popped for that.
but yeah, that was his whole thing was just, I didn't want it. I thought that was bad. Um, I think the other thing that I kind of have a little bit of an issue with was that there are a couple of characters that just disappear. There's the boyfriend um,
Right.
of the what's her name in the movie, Allison, I think.
Yeah.
Allison's boyfriend. They have like a falling out at the prom or whatever it is. It's like some sort of school dance, and then you just never see that
Halloween
guy
party.
again. Like, he's just
Yeah.
gone. Like, he doesn't get killed or anything. He's just gone. And then there's that other cop that's like the black dude with the cowboy hat. He just disappears. Like, he has like two scenes. He's kind of a colorful character, right? And then he just disappears from the movie. Like, why? Where did he go? Like, you know what I mean? Those two, because like they were kind of, both those characters were set up to be like kind of, they seemed like they were going to be important, but then they were just completely dropped. So that is, I had an issue with that. Other than that, I there is one more other little thing I had an issue with, but I kind of want to get into like the thematic tones of this one before we get into it. But so when we did the original Halloween on the Central Films podcast, which you can download on iTunes right now. I don't remember which episode number it is, but it's on there. It's one of the early ones. When we did the original Halloween, we kind of talked about how it set up the final girl trope, and how
Right.
the final girl is the trope exists because it's the final girl kind of represents virginity and innocence and pureness. She's not corrupted by sin. She's not corrupted by vices and sexuality, things like that. And that's perfectly embodied by the uh, um, Laurie Strode character played by Jamie Lee Curtis. And from the very beginning of the film and the original Halloween, you see that Michael Myers is kind of punishing people who have that, like, first with his sister, and then with like whenever he comes out and he's older, and he comes out as Michael Myers with the mask and everything. He's killing all the babysitters and the other teenagers. those are kids that are, quote unquote transgressed, right? But he can't kill Lori because she never transgressed, right? I find that to be like, that we talked in length about that. You can listen to that.
Right.
What I liked about this film is that it's kind of a response to that. And it's also a response to the stuff that's been going on here. And I actually, I thought about this after the movie. And then when I started, and I thought maybe I'm reaching. But then when I started reading some interviews with the filmmakers and they kind of alluded to that, I was like, oh, good, I'm not reaching there. The film is kind of a response to the Me Too era. And you kind of get that with the final climax with the three women fighting off Michael Myers.
Yeah, I caught that on the first viewing too. I was thinking about that all the way on in my Uber ride heading home. I was like, oh, definitely. This was not subtle at all.
Dude, they even kill a quote unquote nice guy. Like, you know what I mean?
Like,
Like,
yes, that's right. And watching it the second time yesterday, I was like, oh, this is definitely a response to that shit. Oh, because that not it. You really think about it, bro? That did not need to be there, other than to kind of for that theme to work.
Which is why I'm surprised that the
boyfriend
didn't get killed. Because the boyfriend, like, I'm wondering if maybe there's a longer cut where that was cut out of the movie or something. Because it seems like that boyfriend should have been killed.
Because that whole scene seems like an unnecessary tangent to the main story. And it's like the only reason this is there is to kind of is to go with their Me Too theme, And
Mm-hmm.
I caught that yesterday because I mean I saw it the first time and it's just like, oh, okay, he was kind of that douche nice guy, right? And then watching it yesterday, I'm like, oh wait, this is part of the whole female empowerment thing, that we caught I caught the first time in the climax. And it's like, oh, like you sly devil, David Gordon Green.
I mean, the final shot of the movie is certainly like we're women.
Girl power.
It's like we're women. We're not going to take this anymore, and we will fucking stab you. Like, I mean, that was the final shot of the film, and I really enjoyed that the kind of thematic elements. The only thing that I will say is that I had a tiny bit of a problem with was that when Michael first comes out and he escapes. In the first Halloween film, anybody who he kills that isn't a teenager, it's just kind of people like he kills somebody to get the mask in the hardware store and things like that. But he doesn't really kill anybody else, really. I mean, he even bumps into some little kids in the middle of the road. He doesn't kill them, right? Whereas in here, when he first gets out, he just kind of goes on a killing spree, like, and just kills people for no reason. Like it's actually a really fun shot because it's kind of a single take where it kind of tracks along. Like on trick or treat night, a bunch of row houses. He goes into like one house, gets a hammer, kills someone, goes to another house, kills somebody else. Like, it's a really cool sequence because, and especially that sequence where he's like looking into the window and you see his reflection. I mean, it's really awesomely shot, but there's no reason he kills those people. Like, they're not in his way. They're not, teenagers that are transgressing. He just wants to kill them. And it doesn't really fit with his kind of modus operandi from the first film. Like, in the first film, he's really just killing teenagers because they're sinning. Like, in this one, he's not really doing that. Like, he just killed... those people he killed were just... Like, I get why he killed the podcasters. And sorry, that's not a spoiler. I mean, you knew that was going to happen. Because, like, they had his stuff. They had his mask. They had his stuff, right? You knew, like... And, like, anybody... like... and when he first escapes and gets the car, you knew he was going to kill those people. But other than that, like, the other people he kills, like, why did he kill them? There's no reason to do that.
Right. I mean, you make a good point there. I kind of really never thought about it like that. I kind of just see, like, he's free now. He kind of has this pent up anger, and he kind of, it with the way they were hyping it up in the promotional material, the trailers, like he the final showdown between Michael and Laurie. He's out to get Laurie, and he's gonna just take out anybody who's in his way to get to Laurie. So that's how I kind of perceived it, but like when you really think about it, with the way you said it, like if you're going by, if this is the direct sequel, right now, the new Halloween 2, as I keep calling it the entire time here, um,
I'm just calling it
and
Halloween
you go
78 and
by
Halloween
his
2018.
exactly, if you go by how he went about things in the original film compared to this one, yeah, he kind of just seemed like he's mindlessly killing for no reason. So he deviated a lot in his rationale 40 years later, but one thing I did like, and this is something I caught yesterday on my second viewing, was the fact that in that scene in the gas station, he around the entire time, but it focuses on the podcaster guy, like going into like to buy like some, I guess I don't know what he's buying. I guess he's buying gas or he's buying some snacks or something, and then the girl goes into the bathroom. But as it's tracking along, he's walking across the gas station. I have the guy to take his jumpsuit, and then you see Michael like walking around like in the background, which the first time I did not catch. It wasn't until watching yesterday where I'm seeing it, and he's like, you see him like he's out of focus in the background beating up the guy, and it's like, holy shit, there he is, like he's right there, and it was pretty cool. I like how
I
they
caught
shot
that
that
the first
whole
time. I thought that
sequence.
was fun.
Yeah, they're like that was pretty cool. But yeah, great movie. Like I said, this felt like the rightful Halloween 2. And just in thematic elements, just in its cinematography, the way it was shot, the music. This felt like this the natural or the intended Halloween 2, which is I guess why it's now the canonical timeline, Halloween and then Halloween. So,
And
but this was awesome though. I had a great time with this movie.
and I also want to just say that like the one thing I really enjoyed about this film, um, and we were talking about Venom earlier about how like he's not like he's just a mindless killing machine, or Carnage is a mindless killing machine. Um, Whereas that's what Michael Myers is, but like the way they set it up with the thematic elements works, right? He is just kind of a personification of evil, and there's no motive behind it. He's just the proof that evil exists in the world, and you can't really escape evil sometimes. And I really like that they just kind of kept that theme. I really disliked all the other sequels where they try to justify or explain or whatever um, what they do, why he does what he does. Whereas in this movie, he's like, no, he's just evil. Like, and that's all that matters, is that you have to defeat evil.
Exactly. Exactly.
Um,
Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you don't need a backstory. That's just how it is. Some characters don't need a backstory. They are who they are. We don't need to know anything else.
exactly. I don't know. It's a fun movie, and I think that as awesome as Jamie Lee Curtis is in here, I think we got to give a little bit of a honorable mention to Judy Greer in the climax. She has a great moment in the
Yes.
climax. I don't want to give it away because it's a lot of
Oh,
fun.
I know exactly what you're talking about
What
too. It's great.
there's basically she does
Character wise
something
too.
in the climax to kind of help turn the tide. I'll just leave it at that. That is really fun. It's a really cool character moment that I really enjoyed. Because there was a point where I was like, why is she acting like this? She's like, she had this training before. She shouldn't be this. And then that they kind of rectify it like very obviously, and I was like, oh, cool. So anyway, great movie. It has some issues I had with it, but otherwise, very worthy sequel. And like I said before, the best sequel to the franchise by far.
Now, just a couple things before we wrap up. First thing is not to give anything away, but this seemed, if you just stay through the film and don't even watch the credits. I mean, there's no post credit scene, but there is something at the end of the credits that teases something. But if you just watch it up to that point, it feels like a definitive ending. You have Halloween, and then that's where the story ends, right? But that's
Yeah,
what we said the same thing, in '98 for Halloween H2O, and look what that did to us.
Exactly. They can.
But
Well,
I
here's the
did
thing.
see, yeah,
Here's the thing. It's going to be harder and harder to make sequels because in this film they do basically say 40 years have passed. You see, Laurie is definitely 40 years older. She has a granddaughter, for Christ's sake. Michael Myers, you see him unmasked. You don't ever see his face unmasked, but you see him from behind. You see him kind of from the side. You kind of keep glimpses of him without the mask. And he's definitely an old man. Not an old, like, fragile man. He's clearly an old, a strong man, but he's old. You can't, like, in 10 years, you can't get away with this. In 20 years, you can't get away with this. So if you do a sequel, it has to be in like a couple years or they reboot it because there's no way you can keep doing like the same thing with the same character 50 years later, 60 years later.
exactly. And there was an interview with the David Gordon Green and Danny McBride saying that do have an idea for a sequel that they would like to do. However, this movie has to make money first, but I don't think it had any problem doing that this weekend. I think it broke a lot of records, didn't it?
It's still behind Venom, I think, as far as total gross, but it's doing very well.
Yeah, I think Jamie Lee Curtis posted that it was like highest grossing R-rated movie for October, I think, in history. I think,
Something like
which
that,
is
yeah.
funny because which is cool. You know, that's a huge deal. So I think they're gonna get their wish and they're gonna be able to make that sequel, which I
Also,
mean
can I
that was
say
inevitable.
thank you for thank you who released this
Blumhouse, Universal,
Blumhouse,
Blumhouse, and then some other
Universal, yeah.
company.
Thank you guys for actually releasing it in October, as opposed to like other years where like Halloween was like dropped in like fucking April or something, and it's like why? It's
I
October,
think
it's
Resurrection
Halloween.
was like in fucking July, bro, or August.
Yeah, I hate when they did. It's like why would you do that? But thank you for actually dropping it in October, where it makes sense to drop a Halloween movie. Um, yeah, I feel like it will. It has made a lot of money. It will probably get a sequel. That's fine if it's in like the next couple of years. But again, if they try to do like another anniversary, like 10, 50, 60, 70 years, it's like, dude, you guys can't do that anymore. Like
Might
he
be
should be
pushing your
dead.
luck there, yeah. Dude, the budget was like 15 million for this. Already made 103 million. That
Yeah,
yeah. They're getting their sequel, bro.
yeah,
They're gonna get to
definitely.
make their sequel. Yeah. But like I said, if you stay to the credits, there may be some hope for old man Michael. And we're gonna leave it at that. So I guess with that we're gonna wrap up for perspective number 114. Any questions, comments, or feedback, send an email to fpmpodcast@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at SportsGuy515, and you can follow the show on Twitter at FP Movie Podcast. For those of you joining us for the first time, thanks to my buddy Adolfo's appearance on Classic. Welcome. We hope you enjoyed the show. Definitely check out our backlog. We have the latest, I think, 101 to 114 up on Adolfo's YouTube channel at Adolfo J. Acosta. And then the other backlog episodes are actually available on iTunes from episode 1 to episode 99 are up there on iTunes. Definitely check those out if you're interested. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And I'll let Adolfo get in a couple more plugs.
Yeah, essentialfilmspodcast.com is the website. The Essential Films Podcast is the podcast. It is on available on iTunes for download. As you mentioned there, I did have a recent appearance on Turner Classic Movies. We can talk about that on our next Essential Films Podcast episode, where I was talking about the movie City Lights. Our last podcast was about City Lights, and I feel not coincidentally, it is now the highest downloaded episode we've done. So,
Yes.
check that out. We've also, like you said, we've also done a Halloween episode. Last year, we did The Exorcist for Halloween. We've done, pretty much a lot of great films. So check that out on iTunes and follow me at Essential Films on Twitter. And then our next episode is going to be Psycho for Halloween. I know we on the City Lights episode we said it was going to be Ben-Hur. When I posted that episode, I said actually it's going to be Psycho, and then we'll do Ben-Hur. So if that's confusing for anybody, sorry, but our next episode will be Ben-Hur. We should hopefully be recording that before the 31st.
Yeah, actually, the next time you hear us on the air will be for the Psycho episode because we'll probably come back in a couple of weeks for another Force Perspective. I want to give Adolfo a chance to catch up on some of these movies, so we can have a nice lengthy discussion about them all. Talk about it. There's a couple other things coming out soon as well, like Bohemian Rhapsody, which I was telling Adolfo off the year. The embargo looks like lifted on that, and man, it is not good, and it sucks because I was really looking forward to that movie.
Yeah, me too.
There's a few other things coming out in the next few weeks. So we're definitely gonna come back, talk about some of those, and hopefully Adolfo will have caught up with some of the other movies we wanted to talk about on this episode that I kind of held my tongue on for, so we can talk with Adolfo. But anyway, anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
No, I think we're good.
All right, man. So on behalf of Adolfo, I am Mark, Sports Guy 515. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody, and until next time, we are out of here.